I was able to update the thing for the
I'm obsessed with that intro.
How hype are you?
Wow.
That's official.
We're doing it.
The moment is back with a new intro, but your same co-hosts plus a bonus. I'm Meredith Lynch. I'm here with my co-host, the wonderful Rebecca Sananez, and we are joined by the princess from Pittsburgh, Jess Britvich. She's a former social worker turned content creator. She covers the intersection of internet culture, trends, and politics. Her work has been featured in publications such as Teen Vogue, Huffington Post, and BuzzFeed. She's a friend of the show, a friend in real life. Jess, welcome to the moment.
Thank you so much, guys. I'm so excited to be here.
We're excited to have you.
Oh, this is great.
Because you have something very special in common with one of our news stories today, which is that Trump Truth Socialed that a group of congressional Democrats who'd previously served in the military and put together a video telling military members that they did not need to follow illegal orders. Trump Truth Socialed that that was seditious and that they could be punished by death. And the reason why I think you have something in common here is this was the same administration that, 2 months ago was calling for people to be fired from their jobs for sowing political violence in connection to the Charlie Kirk murder. And you were one of these people.
Yes. And I'm in this period right now where it's been about 2 months since this happened. So I made a video really just addressing, it was about Charlie Kirk, of course, but it was more about how the culture that Charlie Kirk has helped to create and has peddled, which really is just pushing this fascist ideology, is going to spew political violence. And to say that there's no room for political violence in America whenever we have the president of the United States literally trying to implement an authoritarian regime, which is going to come with political violence. And whenever we see just like the history of America, which is really built on political violence from like its founding, I was just kind of trying to connect those parallels. And that was, I guess, too divisive for my employer. And I was fired for that video after being doxed, from the internet and, all that kind of stuff. And I'm just like at this phase right now where, obviously this is so much bigger than me or anything. But however, so many people were fired for speaking out during that moment. And I just feel like it's those smaller situations like that allow for this larger scale. Like we're literally being punished as private citizens for calling out and saying like, this is scary and this is leading to a culture that's going to be really, really bad for so many people. That's the fireable offense, not like talking out against someone who's literally calling for the death of now 6 Congress people. Like it's so scary. And every time something like this happens, I get like, furious. I was like shaking last night because it's just like, just the fact that we're here is so frustrating. And the fact that so many, I feel, of us have been told over the past 8 years, you're too angry, like reach across the aisle, like, all this kind of stuff. I'm like, no, nobody's angry enough. This is crazy. And rant.
Yeah. No, I think it makes a lot of sense.
I feel like there's a couple of Congress people who would probably agree with you privately.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
I mean, I also think like for me, one of the things that was really hard about that video is basically one of the things that Trump retruthed, one of the things that he retruthed was like George Washington would have hung these people. I don't even know. Actually, I don't think I'm supposed to say that on TikTok Live. But George Washington would have these people. And I think one of the things that was hard for me is the video itself was actually about upholding the Constitution. So I think it's one of these really complicated things where half the time the right goes, I want to, you need to uphold the Constitution. And then, Senator Mark Kelly comes in and goes, let's make sure we uphold the Constitution. And you're like, not like that.
What was interesting to me, and like, I don't, this is not an all Republicans statement, but like the amount, I made a video about this, and the amount of people who came into my comments that were like, it is in the Constitution the president can do this, and like they were, this was a seditious act and this was treason. I was like, this is, first of all, the man who fomented an insurrection. Like we all watched it with our eyes. These Congress people are talking about the extrajudicial killings happening in Venezuela, which the UN has said are coercive themselves, and just to see that there's so many people that are still like will rush to defend anything he says is it's just it never ceases to amaze me. It's not all right. Republicans. Like, in fact, I think something we've seen this week is that there's a crack between Republicans and Trump that's happening, and I think we're going to talk to our guests a little bit about that in relationship to the Epstein Files, but it's still there,
Sure. You know what else? You know what's not there?
Tell me.
Larry Summers teaching at Harvard, although it took a damn minute. So if you haven't seen Larry Summers, who is a former Harvard president, he was also in the Clinton administration. He was in the Obama administration. He resigned from Harvard after this was in 2005, after several incidences. Like, he had a horrible relationship with Cornel West to the point where Cornel West left Harvard. He had a lot of incidences, but what really kind of pushed it out there was the fact that he made a speech where he said women biologically just aren't as good at science and math as men. So anyway, he was pushed out, of course, right? But so he resigned. But the thing that has really come to light now, he's still been teaching at Harvard, is that he is in these Epstein emails looking for advice from Jeffrey about women, specifically a woman that he was mentoring, a younger woman that he was mentoring, and how he could basically pursue a relationship with her, not a relationship. And it's also why, if you're going to ask your friend for dating advice, why would you go for your friend who recently, got out of prison?
Yeah, and this was after he was charged. This was when it was known that he was I'm sure
I know, but Meredith, my real question is, are women ruining the workplace?
Oh, God. Jesus Christ. So anyway, Larry, first off, there was a bunch of things he stepped back from, but he didn't automatically step back from teaching at Harvard. He did go to class 2 days later, and we do want to play the clip for you because, listen, these Harvard kids, I got to give them credit. They snapped a little TikTok footage in class, and we're going to play it for you.
Nothing but the audacity.
My statement of regret, expressing my shame with respect to what I did in communication with Mr. Epstein, and that I've said that I'm going to step back from public activities for a time, but I think it's very important to fulfill my teaching obligations. And so, with your permission, we're going to go forward and talk about the material in the class.
I mean, give me a break. First of all, the fact that you call him Mr. Epstein tells me everything I need to know, right? There was a moment of respect that you still gave to him. And so basically he was going to keep teaching. And then this video, I think what happened is this video got leaked and Harvard was and so now they're conducting an investigation, but he should not have been allowed back in that classroom. In my opinion, he is a dangerous predator, and he is now being around people who he has this, and this is one of the things that people love to
probably 17. You know what I mean? There are probably people in his class who are underage. This is somebody who is it might
be a graduate class. It might be a graduate class, but even still, to me, the power
differentiation.
Right, is so there. So anyway, he's no longer teaching at Harvard, and I also got a hot tip, you guys. I got a hot tip that he does not tip at restaurants because he does not believe in it.
Of course he doesn't. Any of these people, you could tell even from that speech that he gave about how women don't have I think he said there was two things. One, they don't have the biological like predisposition to be good at science and math. And two, they need to be more family oriented, like some traditional value kind of thing too. And so it's just so clear. I feel like that's so adjacent to people who view people in like beneath them in this hierarchy. Those, of course, are going to be the people who aren't going to tip, you know?
Yeah.
I also something that I just find with all of these men, I keep on having this feeling like I remember what this world was like. Like we do live in a slightly better world where like Larry Summers feels entitled to keep teaching at Harvard because Harvard used to be like, yeah, what's a little, you know, like, what are you going to do? She was 17. She was hot, you know, like that's what the world was like. Like we used to have a countdown for the Olsen twins' 18th birthday. And that was just like a ha funny thing that people talked about. And, you know, like something about these specific men that were sort of at the height of their power in the late 90s, early 2000s, when this was more acceptable, seeing them sort of have to deal with the reality of like a post-Me Too movement and like, you know, we're certainly not where we need to be, but it feels like they're confronting a world that they're like, wait a minute, I used to get like this stuff used to just be okay. What do you mean this is not okay anymore?
That's even what he says in one of his emails to Epstein. It's like, what do you mean a guy has to lose his career just because and I'm paraphrasing, but it's like just because he had a little flirtation with someone 12 years ago or something like that. And what it is, it's like I feel like this is how it is with so many of these trends that we're seeing reemerge, is that we never actually addressed the core issues of like patriarchy, capitalism, white supremacy, you know, whatever it is you want to say. It's just that for a second, they kind of just like went behind the scenes, but this is how they were always operating. And so then that's why so many people at the end of the day, they could hide behind saying, oh, it was economics or whatever it is. But that's why so many of these, especially white men across the age line, vote for Trump because they want to go back to this like position of power.
What happened to the movie? What happened to the plot of the movie?
Yeah. Well, and I also think they're so afraid their incompetence will be found out as people push them. If you get pushed out a little bit, what comes in to replace you? A woman or a queer person who does it better than you. But you know what Larry Summers would probably say to me right now? He'd probably say, quiet, piggy.
Quiet, piggy. Quiet, piggy. Yeah, well,
Rebecca has something that's come full circle for her that we want to close with, but I want to give quiet piggy just a moment.
Just a moment. Yeah, I know we're about to get to somebody who is you know, keeping Larry Summers accountable. We have somebody incredible about to come talk to us. But victory lap, the New York Times is reporting that there's like big fears of this AI bubble about to burst in Europe and Asia markets. Peter Thiel sold off a bunch of NVIDIA stock. This past week it was reported. I think he did it last quarter. But I've been saying that AI is a bubble and the burst is coming. And I actually don't say I'm saying this like ha 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 ha, but that's gonna suck for all of us. But I do think that it's coming.
Yeah, I mean, I guess one question, Rebecca, for you, and this is a genuine question, is like, is it because AI just like isn't as good as people think it is?
Yeah, I mean, like, look, this is how I think of it. I mean, like on a very basic level, there was the .com bubble in the 90s, right? And it's not that the internet went away. It's that people didn't understand the internet and they were just like, ooh, this is buzzy and this is big and I'm going to put money behind it. And it took time for the internet to like figure out how people use it. How does it integrate in our lives? And of course, like the internet didn't go away, but it needed that. And so like this happens. And, you know, I think about this on like a micro level because, and now this is like don't tase me, bro. But, you know, when I was at Spotify, like there was a big bubble in podcasts where like all of this money, because Spotify was going public, was, you know, like all of this money came in from people who understood that podcasting was like hot and cool, but they didn't know how to make them, what makes them make money. And so all of this money came in really, really quick and it funneled into celebrities. It funneled into all these things that don't actually make sense for the growth of an industry. And so then after about 3 years or so, when like the bills came due and they weren't making the money back, there were all these layoffs, all these shows ended, Gimlet shuttered, like all these production companies shuttered. And that's like a much smaller version of a bubble.
I see the parallel though.
If you see the parallel, it's like people who understand buzz and put money in because they're trying to like, you know, beef up a narrative and, you know, beef out their portfolio, but they don't actually understand the mechanics of it, what makes it work. And then that's when layoffs happen, and it's very sad. But I'm proud of my ability to spot a pattern.
Can I just say, I'm so glad that the podcast, Larry Summers' podcast, never got greenlit. It was called Summertime.
Really?
I made that up.
I was gonna say, where was he going with that branding?
That is wild. That is wild.
Okay. Well, we have
Yes. More importantly, we have with us today the youngest woman in Congress. She's the freshman, the president of her freshman class. This is Arizona Representative Yassamin Ansari. She is a member of the House Oversight Committee, and she's here with us today. She is going to tell us everything about what's happening with Epstein. And now that the Epstein Files Transparency Act is headed to Trump's desk. Welcome, Representative. We're so happy to have you.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for having me. I was listening in. I love you guys.
We love you. We love you. Okay. We had a million questions, but you are like a much busier woman than we are. So let's start off. Can you bring us up to speed? What happened? Because like, what happened to the plot of the movie? We went from like the shutdown, you're outside Mike Johnson's office, you know, and then all of a sudden everybody votes for the Epstein Transparency Act. So like what happened in that instant?
Yeah, well, first of all, this entire year has felt like this in terms of like, I feel like you go into every single day or every single week having like a set of expectations based on like what you know is going to happen. I have these hearings and these issues are coming up and whatever. And then, you know, in Trump's America, just expect the unexpected. So that is what these last few months have been like too. I'm sure you all know very well, but just for the audience's sake, like just to take people back a few months, this whole Epstein, you know, kind of reigniting of this investigation really took off back in July because for folks, obviously we know Donald Trump ran on releasing the Epstein files. They had the whole show at the beginning of the year with Pam Bondi and the influencers in front of the White House, and then took, you know, a major pivot and started talking about this being a hoax. And it was really that Elon Musk tweet during their online breakup.
Oh, that's right.
Right? You know, that kind of like what really was a bomb when he, you know, tweeted, "This is the big bomb. Donald Trump is in the Epstein files." And, you know, the attention kind of reemerged. I do want to also fix the kind of the misconception that Republicans like to throw out about, you know, Democrats didn't care about this issue. They just now care about this issue because it's a political issue. I have learned, you know, I'm new, you know, I just started in January, but I have learned through my work on the Oversight Committee that is absolutely not the case. Like the Oversight Committee has been investigating this. The Ghislaine Maxwell, you know, entire like trial and case was ongoing over years throughout most of the Biden presidency. And she was appealing after she was convicted in 2021. So that is kind of like a big backdrop of all of this. But anyway, so back in July, Mike Johnson shut down the House of Representatives because we started bringing up Epstein in every possible committee, and he got scared. And so he's like, let me just shut this thing down a week early before we already had a month out of session for our August recess when we're back in our districts. And then what happened was that we still had some committee hearings happening. And so in one of the oversight subcommittee hearings, that's when Congresswoman Summer Lee issued a motion to subpoena the Epstein files. And by that point, there were enough Republicans on oversight that I think were feeling the immense public pressure on this issue that because usually things are so partisan right now that like, even if we make a very like minutia kind of motion or anything, like you will not get a Republican vote because just on principle, they don't want to vote for anything we say or do. But in that case, they were backed into a corner. So that subpoena has existed and still exists to this day. Now, the Epstein Files Transparency Act, I think, works really well with the subpoena because it really just bolsters it. Now you have all of Congress saying, we want to see these files released. And in terms of like that big flip flop, I mean, I think to boil it down.
Yeah, what happened there? What, like, 1 minute you're outside Mike Johnson's office, calling for, saying that like the shutdown is happening because they're obfuscating with the Epstein files. Trump does a 180, and then all of the Republicans all of a sudden are voting for it. Like, what happened?
Well, Marjorie Taylor Greene, of course, was at the forefront, along with Thomas Massie, who's the co-sponsor of the bill, and the two other ladies who were on the discharge petition. I think the pressure honestly just became so immense, and Donald Trump, nobody, even his, deepest, longest standing supporters on this issue, he's polling -39. I think it was just so, it was becoming impossible to gaslight the public, to the extent that he usually is able to get away with, because this issue was not letting up. Like, you could not turn on, as you guys know, like any TV station or any social media without Epstein being at the forefront the last few weeks because of the investigation, the emails that came out from the Epstein estate that made Trump look horrible. And I think he was backed into a corner. He knew he was going to lose. Like, for a couple of weeks, we knew that dozens of Republicans would vote for the bill. Right. And so I think for Trump, it was like, okay, let me just bullshit my way again, claim I support this so that, it doesn't look like a big loss for me while I find more ways to continue to cover it up.
So I guess, go ahead, Meredith.
How soon?
There's a lot of questions.
Yeah. How soon do you think we will see the Epstein files? And do you think they have been scrubbed?
That's basically my question.
Yeah. These are both really tough questions that I don't think anyone like truly has the answer to.
Right.
How soon will we? I think we're going to continue to I think we're just at the beginning of this investigation. So now we have the two tracks, right? We have the subpoena from the Oversight Committee, and we have another subpoena essentially, and Trump has 30 days to release the files. In the bill, and you may have seen reporting on this, the language from the bill is a little different than the subpoena from the committee, because the language from the bill does have something about, like, if there's an ongoing investigation, that I know folks have been talking about. That is obviously, sorry, sometimes there's sounds when there's votes and such.
It's happening, folks. This is what it's like to be the youngest congresswoman, and things are beeping. She's got to vote. She's got to go.
Yeah. We already voted for the day though, so I don't know what that is. But so they are obviously, like, we know Trump, we know Pam Bondi. They're going to try to pull some, maneuvers and say we now have this investigation into Larry Summers and other Democrats, and therefore we won't be able to release XYZ. I just want to remind people that the Oversight Committee subpoena legally obligates them to release everything. And that has been there. They have not complied. For months, it's been we just got a briefing from our staff on the committee on Monday, and they made very clear it's been extremely difficult to work with the Department of Justice during the shutdown. They used that as an excuse and said, we can't get you anything. They've given some stuff, and there's been some documents, but the vast majority were documents that were already in the public domain. Mm-hmm. So that is where we are going to relentlessly continue to push. We're not letting up on this. We just also, this week, the committee issued a subpoena to JP Morgan Chase to get some of the bank records. That is a hugely important part of the investigation from, research or from investigations that have come out of the Senate, and Senator Wyden has been talking about this JP Morgan Chase issue, but there's a lot of other banks as well. And the victims directly talked to us about this too, that to be like, something that really stuck with me when we met with the victims about 6 weeks ago, they said, and their lawyers, and the lawyers have been working with them pro bono for years on end. So they are like really plugged into the details of this case, these vast cases. And they said the number of fake companies, fake marriages, potentially foreign governments that were involved in just making all of this possible. I am not exaggerating when I say I came out of that meeting just feeling extremely overwhelmed by just the gravity of all of this, because it really is so much. I think it's just so much bigger than even what we're able to even imagine now based on what we know.
Can you talk about that a little bit more? Like, I'm really sort of curious. I think one thing, just when you said the thing about JP Morgan Chase, I've heard Republicans be like, are the Democrats going to be mad when, like, we subpoena JP Morgan Chase? And it's like, do you think like leftist Democrats care? Like, Bill Clinton is not our totem over here. What do you expect to come out of this? And like, do you think there's going to be more big fallouts? Like, Larry Summers is one, but like, are there other people or institutions that you expect us to see in the next months?
Yeah, well, first of all, I feel like we've made very clear, and they struggle to wrap their minds around this. We don't care who's in the files or who's implicated. Like, if you committed a crime or you enabled the crime, I don't give a shit if you're, whoever.
Right.
Like, I'm sorry, that's insane.
Yeah.
But they don't understand that because they have such a cult-like loyalty to Trump and people like that they can't fathom that we would be okay with someone being held accountable.
Yeah.
This isn't a sports game. That's what I do like content creation and things like that. And that's what I see in my comments all the time. This isn't a gotcha. This is human rights violations.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
At the highest levels, like something, I want to keep asking questions, but there is something about this where it's like, yeah, people with all of the money and the power, like the imagination that there is a club of men pulling the strings feels like it's pretty real right now,
Exactly. And I guess to what we were kind of talking about, like to have been able to get away with it. And that's what I mean with like just how vast this was. And I don't think we have a true sense yet. And we won't until, the investigation is complete, whenever that will be, because to have been able to abuse and rape over 1,000 victims, which is kind of the number that
mind-boggling.
Like over 1,000, over years on end. I mean, I'm 33. I feel like I've been hearing it, like this has been going on my entire life in terms of like the case and hearing about it and whatever. Yeah. And then the amount of money, the transactions, like the JP Morgan Chase piece, that's estimated that more than $1 billion in unusual transactions were made over years. And so they very clearly looked the other way because they didn't want to lose the business of Epstein and the people that he brought. And then there's all, the files in and of themselves that the Department of Justice has. And the reason why those are so important is like the photos, potentially videos, because blackmail was, from what we understand, a big part of this and how it was made to be possible is Epstein would develop these relationships, get people involved, take footage, blackmail them. And so that to think about, again, it's just very overwhelming to think about what that has made possible or who has been given what positions and, authority because of all of this over the last 20, 30 years of our lives. It's really, really, it's really terrifying, honestly. But I do feel like people ask me like, how's Congress been? And what's it like now? And this has been some of like the most meaningful work I feel like I've been able to do. And it just it like means a lot to be a part of because I feel like we actually are making progress.
Yeah.
These victims have been wanting accountability for decades. And this is the first time that we are getting genuinely closer to that. And some people, even Prince Andrew losing his title, like that's not a small thing. I had BBC News calling me like every single day to talk about, because that is a massive, massive thing. And it took decades, but it happened. And now with Larry Summers and, it's just the beginning.
We're seeing the fallout with we're seeing the fallout with some of these individuals, who are starting to be held accountable, losing titles, losing positions. But what about these larger financial institutions? What does accountability look like for them on this larger scale?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, I think ultimately any person or any institution, organization, company could be prosecuted. I mean, that is, ultimately everyone should have their day in court, and that is up to a jury and a judge to decide. The issue is most people and most institutions have never gotten to that point. It's been covered up far before then. And so the first step is the subpoenas. And then we need to get these people in front of Congress and they need to come testify. I mean, we have a long list of people we want to subpoena to come speak before us. Ghislaine Maxwell is one of them. JP Morgan Chase Deutsche Bank is another prominent financial institution that has been, is one of the main ones that's mentioned when it comes to this case. But, that's what accountability looks like. They need to be, once the evidence is there, they need to be taken to court. And I'm sure you know this, but these, like JP Morgan Chase has previously settled these massive, like $200 million lawsuits with victims. So this is not new information, but it's just at the federal prosecution level, nothing has ever happened.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Can we switch gears for just a second? I saw you speak at CrookedCon. You did a phenomenal job. One of the things that you do is you represent a border state. And you've spoken very much about ICE, and you recently joined a group of Democratic colleagues on a trip to El Salvador. What have you been seeing? I know you've also been visiting the facilities in Arizona. I think one of the things you mentioned during CrookedCon was, individuals who are on chemotherapy, not being able to get treatment, et cetera. And one thing I'm thinking about is there's so much going on right now. What are we not seeing that is happening with ICE and these centers?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you for the question. I try to talk about this at every opportunity. The main thing we're not seeing, I mean, we're all seeing videos of ICE on the streets and the masked men who are, ripping people from their families or just like outright assaulting people. But we have very little visibility inside the detention centers. I have been lucky in that I've actually been let into the detention centers in Arizona. So I've had the opportunity I've been 3 times now. So I've spent over like 10, 12 hours there. And I've even gotten to talk to detainees, probably about 30 or so women. It is awful, like awful, awful, awful. I have not had the opportunity to be inside a prison, but it's what I would imagine a prison is or worse. In terms of like what it looks and feels like, but also in terms of how people are being treated. I've talked to women from all over the world and want to be clear. No, like none of the people I've talked to, these are not criminals. There's no criminal record whatsoever. They are asylum seekers, refugees, green card holders, just people who've been like picked up by ICE for whatever reason, taken to the detention centers. Women have told me everything from they get used underwear. And so like UTIs are rampant inside the detention centers. And then there's not medical attention. Their water is chlorinated. So they get like really sick and like rashes all over their bodies. Some of the guards have been super abusive, racist, of course, but also abusive in terms of like, there was a story that about like 20 women literally corroborated this story that back when it was hotter in Phoenix earlier this year, a guard forced them to go outside and like march in the heat, like just in circles for 2 hours. Yeah. And was yelling at them, quote, "This is the price of the American dream." Just like everything is
so like, my family's Jew, like there's something so historically dark about that image that you just pulled up, that you just described.
It is. No, it's like sickening stuff. What Meredith, what you were referring to is I have a constituent there who has leukemia. She's actually not getting any treatment. Like this is actually the issue is she had cancer. She got picked up in February. She was in the car with somebody who was undocumented. She had a green card. So they accused her of human trafficking because the person was undocumented and stripped her of her green card status. Okay. So this is like the other big thing that's being missed is like, they're like, oh, we're going after illegals. No, men, they're very much going after legal, like people who've come here in all the right ways.
Yeah.
Have gone through all the processes, stripped her of her green card status. And then she has lost 70 pounds since being there. She vomits blood. I went there 2 weeks ago. I like sat with her for 2 hours because I was trying to get her medical records. Basically, they finally let her see an oncologist after like me and my office personally were advocating, holding press conferences at the Capitol, like making a big show about this. One person, this is probably happening to thousands of people.
Right.
We finally let her go see an oncologist after all that. Then they wouldn't give her medical records or give her a treatment plan or tell her what she needs, how they're actually going to help her because she's vomiting blood every day and like so sick. I saw her vomit blood this last time. It's really hard to describe it all, but it's just like the most, like I use the word torture because like that's what they're doing. They are torture. Like I had women there who were like,
this sounds like human rights abuse. Like,
it sounds like human rights violations.
Oh, massive.
Doesn't this sound like something that's going to end in like a Nuremberg trial eventually?
It has to. No, it has to. It has to. I mean, Kristi Noem and the entire apparatus that she's running, and there's going to be a lot of people, but like all of these people need to be taken to court and prosecuted for the crimes they're committing. Like 20 people have died in ICE custody this year in detention centers. Like that's not an accident. Like this woman I'm talking about, she's dying. Like she's very unwell. And I can't even, I saw her, I witnessed incredible patience from her. I started basically yelling at this woman because they just, when bureaucracies kind of, when like you feel like you've gone through all the right things and someone's gaslighting you into like, you need to fill out this form.
I
filled out that form 2 weeks ago. Oh, well, we don't have it. We need to do that.
Like she had a green card. Like speaking of bureaucracy, it's like she went through sorry to interrupt you, but like that is happening.
Exactly. But they're doing this now with her medical issue. Like this woman I spoke to there really tried to feign like, oh, I know we've been following her and we're taking care of her. I'm like, I just saw her vomit blood. Like, here's the tissue. Yeah. It's like, no, but she literally told me that could be a side effect of medication. The only medication they've been giving her is pain like Advil and Tylenol.
Even if it was a side effect of medication, like that is insane. It's so crazy. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it's like just such a stain on our country.
It is. Yeah, I know. Every time I pay my tax dollars, I think, oh my God.
Yeah.
Well, Representative Ansari, we're so grateful for your time today. We, we will continue monitoring all of this work that you're doing, and we hope you will join us again. And we're
incredible work.
Yeah, I'd love to. Thank you guys. Thank you for everything that you do. Really appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you. Come back anytime.
Yeah. Thanks. Bye.
Bye. Wow, that was incredible.
Yeah, there's so much, right? Like there's so much that we need to unpack, but I just like, I think, just as a human, I'm like, I need to be doing more. And what are we losing right now? Like I'm so in the Epstein world and that's okay. But like, what is the bias of being in the Epstein world right now? Right? Like when I think it's allowing
such a moving target. Like that's part of the problem with the Trump administration is it's like disaster over here, disaster over here. Like it is hard to focus on one thing at a time. But like, even just the fact that she said 20 people have died in ICE detention, I consider, like, I read the news all day, every day. I read the news all day, every day. And like, I didn't know that 20 people have died in ICE detention so far. Like that was, I don't know, that was the fact that that's like not a front and center article that's just out there is like it speaks to how dark things are.
Hey guys, sorry, my Wi-Fi went out randomly. Like all my power.
Okay. We go live, baby. That's what live is.
I
like
know, right? It never has done that today. I'm so upset I missed the end of that conversation, but I got, kind of obviously the beginning part and then the tail end. And oh my gosh, it's so hard right now because we're being so flooded with so much information overload of these atrocity after atrocity after atrocity. And can you hear me still? I'm just making sure my internet's okay. All right, sorry, it was lagging for a second. But atrocity after atrocity after atrocity. And part of it is because they want us to feel so overwhelmed that we feel paralyzed.
Yeah.
But at the same time, so much of this is reality. So like, how do you not, like, that's something I struggle with. It's like, okay, we're focusing on these horrible sex crimes and this like huge, almost conspiratorial level of sex trafficking. But then we still have these people in literal concentration camps. And it's like, and 1,000 other things going on. And it's,
when she was describing, when she was describing the guard marching the women around, did you hear her say that?
I mean,
she said that when she heard that a guard had marched the women around outside in like the high heat of Arizona in the dead of summer and saying like, this is the price for the American dream. And I'm like, I saw Schindler's List, you know, like this sounds pretty familiar. You know, this is like as dark as it gets. And like you, me, Meredith, the people watching this, if you're in the United States, we are paying for this. Like, that's what really tells me is like we do all have a responsibility to talk about this because we are paying for it, you know, and we're all going to have to live with, you know, it's not our fault per se, but we do have to live with like the stain that like we are paying for this.
Yes. Which goes back to like the original conversation that we opened the show with, is this, so much of society is trying to keep people quiet and doesn't want to be divisive and like, you know, oh, you're too angry or trying to tone police or whatever. Like, you know, you're afraid for speaking out because we're also seeing crazy high costs of living. Then you say something trying to advocate on the internet, then you can get fired. And like, that's why though, it's to try to get us to comply in advance so that they don't have to pass rules or laws that say like, you know, you don't have freedom of speech or you can't say this. People are afraid to speak out. And so they want to like scare us into being complicit. But that's why I think it's so important for like, you know, people like myself who are in positions of privilege and who have more ability to be able to speak out about these things, like to like continue to scream it, because it's just,
I'm sorry, Jess, quiet piggy. Quiet piggy.
Yes, exactly.
Quiet piggy.
Exactly.
Quiet piggy.
That literally, those two words I feel encapsulate so much of just like the culture right now.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I mean, I also think the thing that I found really not surprising, but it's like, so this woman is someone who has a green card, right? She's here legally, but she was with someone who didn't have a green card. And so she's being accused of human trafficking. And I'm like, oh, now all of a sudden you guys care about human trafficking. Because
would you look at that, Larry Summers? Would you look at that?
I know the hypocrisy is the point. Like, and that's why it's almost just like the hypocrisy is literally the point. But oh my God, it makes you just want to explode.
And it's also like, I don't know, it's just my family came here as immigrant, like I'm first generation, and like, yeah, a green card holder, she did exactly what she's supposed to do. And that woman pays taxes to the United States government. Like, you know, whatever you want to say, is like, that woman is doing it exactly how you're supposed to do it. And like, I don't know, it just, we don't want immigrants in this country. It's not about immigration
at all.
It's not about immigration. It's about, it's so, I don't know, something about that conversation. I knew it was foul, and yet she shocked me, I'll be honest.
I know. I found myself feeling like,
me too.
You know, and you can see it in her as well. Like, you know, these are really, you guys, I'm so glad we did this episode. Every episode, we always close with what's having a moment for us. It can be a moment of that's of more of levity. It can be
we're allowed to have some joy, I think.
But Rebecca, what's having a moment for you?
Something has changed within me. Something is not the same. Meredith and I are going to see Wicked tonight.
Oh my God, that's so
So
exciting.
happy. I've heard it's not as good as the first one, but like I'm a big Wicked head. I went to go see it for the first time in high school. And like, let's be fair, the source material, Act 2, is not it's just not as good source material.
Right.
I'm so excited. Meredith and I are going with my sister and her best friend. The girlies are going to see Wicked. And, you know,
Oh my God, I need both of your
the
full
dark
reviews.
place we get, you know, for
Jess,
good.
what's having a moment for you?
Oh gosh, sticking with the entertainment theme. Okay, well, like two things. Because I'm just trying to dissociate where I can, you know. So
Yeah.
I've been on a Gilmore Girls rewatch. So that's been having a
Nice.
big moment for me because it's, I don't know how hundreds of episodes long. So I'm on season 6, which people I know historically are very critical of, but I'm kind of vibing with season 6. Like,
Wait, what
I'm
happens
like,
in season 6?
Yeah, what's happening?
Luke's long lost daughter comes back, and then
Oh, yeah. I'm not a season 6er too.
nobody likes it,
I'm
but
a
for
season
some
6
reason I'm
consumer.
locked in to the plot for some reason. And then Logan and Rory are together, and it's like that whole thing, and her and Lorelai have their fight. And I
Yeah.
don't know why. I'm like, I feel like the early seasons are great for like their cozy feeling,
They're
but for some
cozy,
reason this plot like has me. It's like, okay, the drama, like I'm into
Yeah.
it.
Fair
And then
enough.
secondly, I'm going tonight to Elf in concert, like where they do the movie and then they have the orchestra play the soundtrack. I'm so excited. I'm so excited.
That's
so Christmas
so
season.
fun.
I know, it's gonna be cute. So supporting the arts. Pittsburgh Symphony
Supporting the
Orchestra.
arts.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what's having a moment for me. I actually, I'm part of a community. I'm part of an affinity group. It's me and approximately 7 other people that I'm aware of that all got a flat tire on the same pothole in the span of 30 minutes. Guys, I got a flat tire because the rain like kills LA. The rain kills LA.
Yeah.
I got this flat tire that like it is like monumental. Like they had to tow my car, but when it happened and I felt like, you know, you have that feeling of like, Jesus Christ, like, you know, how did this happen? But while I was waiting there, 2 more people in different cars got a flat tire from the same pothole. And like, listen, at this point, like, I just find it funny. And the repairman
Karen Bass
still
is gonna have to pay for that flat tire.
seriously, they can't fix it. They still can't get the tire off. The car had to be towed. Like at this point, I just find it funny. But it was just like there's something about like shared, like, I mean, it wasn't, and all of us were like, well, at least we're not on the 405. Like, it's not, you know what I mean? Like, it kind of stinks, but it's not the end of the world. And so it's kind of like, and I had one of those moments of like, a lot of people say like, oh, LA is so fake and LA people are so whatever. But like Rebecca was on the phone with me, like these 2 women came and checked on me like twice to make sure I was okay when I was waiting for AAA. Like, there's like, you know, it was just like in a weird way, even though it's annoying, it's going to be like $300 and it's a moment of levity.
Yeah.
You got to sending the bill to Karen Bass.
I probably will be like,
Yeah.
It's kind of it's actually like, I'm almost in a weird way, like I'm fascinated by the pothole. Like now,
Yeah,
kind of,
I know.
yeah,
It has more.
yeah. Anyway, this has been so
dark.
Oh yeah, I know. Jess, like it rains like here, and you would think that there's like that the whole world shuts down. And honestly,
my
it probably
internet stopped working 2 years ago. It rained, and my laundry, like I have like a little laundry cove, and the roof caved in.
Oh, that's scary.
Like, it literally caved in.
Yeah.
Like everything here is made out of tissue paper, and so it rains for a second, and then we can't function.
Can't function. Yes. Where can our folks find you?
Yes. Well, I'm on TikTok and Instagram, just my name at Jess Britvich. And then I'm on Substack as well under the same username at Jess Britvich. So would love to connect and continue these conversations.
Thank you so much for joining us. We'll be back next Tuesday, and we can't wait to see you guys then.
Thank you guys.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.